A few weeks ago, I got into my dream university, and everyone was happy. Messages, calls, noise. And I should have been too, because the plan had worked. The grades, the studying, the applications and the waiting had all led that one moment. But I remember just sitting there, staring at my acceptance letter, because something felt off. It wasn't fear, nor was it doubt. It was something heavier, something that didn't match with how simple the decision felt. Because on paper, it made perfect sense. Go abroad, study somewhere stable, and build a better future. It sounded smart, even obvious, and that's what started bothering me. Because it was the first time I asked myself if my dream was actually mine. Not because I didn't want it, but because I started asking, when did I start wanting this? When did leaving become part of the plan? And when did stability become something I had to go to search for elsewhere? Suddenly, it wasn't about what's the best move, but why does this move feel like the only path forward to success? And I'll tell you why. It's because the frame is all around us. At first, it's subtle. When electricity cuts at 6 p.m., you don't question the country. You turn on your flashlight and carry on. When the internet dies, you switch to 3G. When prices change, plans collapse, and something gets cancelled yet again, you adjust. And that's what we became good at, adjusting. In fact, we adjusted so well to the broken system that we don't even notice it anymore. But you know what time electricity goes up. You know which roads have the most traffic. And you know how to make things work when everything around you is broken. And the issue is that we learned so well to survive the country we were supposed to be living in. And it doesn't just stay there, because the frame follows us into the bigger and bigger decisions of our life. So you pick a major, not because you love it, nor because you're passionate about it, but because it's safe, it's expected, and it works abroad. And you learn a language, not only to understand people, but also to have some place else to go when everything collapses around you. You think about universities, but also passports. You think about degrees, but also visas. You think about your futures, but also exchange rates, embassies, and whether the country again will be stable enough by the time we graduate. How many times have we heard to just get a degree and leave? How many times have we been told to choose something useful, and useful doesn't always mean meaningful. It usually means escape. Because the degree in Lebanon is usually an escape. We call it being smart. We call it having a plan. And maybe it is smart, but look at the place we live in. We live somewhere where stability is not something you win. It's something you wait for. It comes in pauses, in quiet weeks, in moments where nothing explodes and everything depends on a ceasefire. And when things are quiet, we call that stability. We start dreaming again, making plans again, hoping that the future might hold until it doesn't. And then we adjust yet again. We postpone and we prepare to leave. And after a while, that cycle starts to feel normal. But it's not. This life we're living, it was never supposed to be normal, but we normalized it. And the frame is not only political, it lies deeper than that. Because before your fears, before your plans, and before your family's expectations, you were told who you are. Look around this room. You are not Sunni. You are not Shia. You are not Jews, not Orthodox, not Maronite, not Catholics, not anything you were assigned before you could speak. They were labels. They were instructions on who to fear, how to react, and who to blame when everything collapses around you. And these labels are not just descriptions, they were borders. And the longer we live inside that, the harder it becomes for us to see it as something we were given, rather than something we didn't choose. So I'm not here to tell you which major to choose, which country to move to, or which version of success to chase. Because maybe business, medicine, engineering, or finance really is your dream. But the question is, Did you choose it? Because a lot of the times, our dreams are not even ours. They are family's expectations, our background, bearing our name. And that's a hard thing to say, because our parents, they're not the villains. Most of the time, they're scared. They're scared. They saw things fall apart. They saw money lose its value. And they saw their very dreams slip away from them. So when our parents tell us to do something safe, they don't mean to limit or crush our dreams. They're just trying to protect us from the country that hurt them so much. But still, protection becomes a frame. Love can become direct, and sooner than we know, before we even know who we are, our grandparents, grandpas, uncles, or even aunts already asking medicine, engineering, business, travel. And so, before we learn the logic of escape, we learn the logic of choice. Let me repeat that. A child in Lebanon learns the logic of escape before learning the logic of choice. We call it being smart. We call it having a plan. And maybe it is smart. Maybe leaving is the right choice. Maybe staying is the right choice. But whatever you do, you must choose who you are. Take everything you were told about who you are. Your expectations, your background, your set, and even your country's limits, and put them all aside for a moment. If no one was watching, who would you be? What would you become? And what would you build? And now decide. Not the safest version, nor the expected one. Not the version of you that only makes sense because everything around us is broken. Choose the version that's actually yours. And whatever you've been asked, whether you stay, whether you leave, whether you build or walk away, do it as someone you chose to become, not someone you were told to be. Thank you.